Test.
Okay.
Speak to you later, yeah?
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I'll close your mic for now. Dear members, the meeting will begin shortly. Thank you very much for testing. Have a nice day and a good meeting. Bye-bye. Okay, Mr. Fodorova, I will open your microphone just to a last test. You can press on the speak button now. If not, I have to leave you.
Dear colleagues, please let us take our seats so we can start our plenary session. Commissioner. So, dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure to start our plenary today. And let me directly start with the adoption of the agenda. If there are no comments, the agenda is adopted. And we will now proceed to the adoption of the minutes of the 148th plenary session that was held on the 26th and the 27th of January 2022. If there are no comments, the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, I'm particularly happy to welcome you all this afternoon here in Brussels. Most of our members are present, and some of us are connected on the internet, online, for the meetings after this plenary week and after consultation of the COP members and Commission chairs and taking into account their opinions, I have signed a renewed decision on the application of extraordinary measures during the COVID-19 pandemic. These new decisions that I signed states that as from the 1st of May of 2022 until at least the end of August, statutory meetings will be fully in person, whilst other meetings may still be organized in a hybrid mode. In order to make this meeting successful and safe for all of us, I remind you to apply the COVID-19 measures as advised by administration, which is the wearing of a mask, which is highly recommended when you are not able to keep social distancing. Today, the voting will take place in an electronic format. Members participating in the room will be able to use the voting controls available on their desks. Members participating remotely will be able to vote through the voting link that you have received by mail. These are several voting sessions during this plenary clearly identified in the agenda, so please make sure to be present in the room or in front of your computer during these voting sessions. I would like to inform you also that during the plenary of the 22nd of December 21, the European Commission put forward a Council directive on ensuring a global minimum level of taxation for multinational groups in the Union. Since the Council invited institutions to issue their opinions by the end of March and the Committee has to adopt its opinions at the plenary session of 27 and 8 of April 22, I appointed Federico Borgna as Rapporteur General for this opinion following his endorsement by the Econ Commission. But before starting our work, I would like to take a minute to remember our former President, Michel Delbare. It is with great sadness that we learned of his passing on April 9. President Delbare was a member of our committee since 1998 and President from 2006 to 2008. Our thoughts are, of course, with his family, with his friends, and I would like now to invite you to rise and observe 1 minute of silence in memory of President Delbare. A book of condolences is available during the plenary session at the entrance of our meeting room. Thank you. We now move on to the debate on Ukraine, which consists of 3 parts. We will start with the testimonials from several people from Ukraine. Then we will have a debate with Commissioner Ferreira, which I would like to welcome. She is here already with us in our plenary, and then with Commissioner Lenarčič. So, dear colleagues, we are opening basically our session today with an extraordinary debate on Ukraine, the victim of a brutal, unjustified, unprovoked military attack by a regime whose illegality over stability and peace and chose illegality over stability, over peace. And is inspired today by extremism and revanchism that reminds us the darkest hours of the last century in our continent. The horror of these days also reminds us of the precocious stability in other countries, from Moldova to the Western Balkans. Since the very first day of this invasion, and from the Marseille Summit of Regions and Cities, we never stopped, and we will not stop giving our colleagues in Ukraine the floor in our House in order to make their calls heard, by the European citizens gathering in our streets, by the European regional and local authorities at the borders and beyond, providing shelter to the Ukrainian people that are fleeing their country, and by the EU institutions advocating for their bid to become a candidate country. Now, I want to thank in particular Mayor Dulkiewicz for her tireless work and for making our working group on Ukraine the main political tool. Mayors are the building blocks of democracy and the building blocks of the European future of Ukraine. We pay homage today to their courage and their strength, and we pay respect to the thousands of victims and for those who will have to live with the memories of the atrocities that they witnessed and experienced in their hometowns, on their streets and their neighborhoods. 9 May is Europe Day, representing the day of just peace over war. And I want to emphasize that the Russian regime is the only responsible for the atrocities unfolding in Ukraine. Its leadership will be judged for that. So, dear colleagues, I would like now to give the floor to Mr. Vitaly Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev and chair of the Association of Municipalities of Ukraine. Dear Mayor, our institution decided to grant you on behalf of all your colleagues and the 1 million regional and local politicians the honorary membership of our institution. For all of us, you are already part of our house and of our family. And I'm truly confident, as I will also convey to President Zelensky later today during the meeting of the Presidium of the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities, that together we can build up a network, of the best experts from the regional and the local level of government to create a pool of expertise to be at your disposal when you will start rebuilding your cities and your villages in Ukraine. We fully commit to this patronage initiative. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, allow me now to give the floor to the Mayor of Kiev. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you listening? Are you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear members of European Committee of the Region, I'm Chairman of Association Ukrainian Cities, which unite almost 1,000 municipalities, where is 90% of population of our country lives. One more, thank you very much to be the part of your family. It's very important for us. Thank you very much for solidarity. Thank you very much for support our country. It's very important for us. I want to, in a couple of words, to tell this everyone have to understand the reason this senseless war what make Russia with invasion against our home country. Our wish to be the part of European family, to build democratic, modern European country, European Ukraine is the reason of this war, because our wish to be the member of European family not accept from Russian Federation. They have just goal to rebuild Soviet Empire, to rebuild Russian Empire, and Ukraine is target in this vision, as Ukraine is in the vision of Mr. Putin, President of Russia, to be the part of former Soviet Empire. We was in USSR and we don't want back to USSR. We see our future as member of European family. And that's why it's a decision of European Committee of Region. It's, I want to say thank you very much. We right now defending not just our houses in this war. It's every day died thousands and thousands Ukrainian. Majority of them is civilian. Children, women, the people who never have communication with army, and is big tragedy. It's big tragedy for our home country. It's also big tragedy to Russia. They not understand right now, but we doesn't have another choice. We have to defend our homeland, defend our city, and defend our dream to be the part of European family. And we pay for our dream with huge price, lives of our citizens. It's very important. I want to say thank you very much for humanitarian help. Thank you very much for support refugees from Ukraine. Thank you very much for political support, and it's very, very important for us and to feel the friendship with European friends and support our goal to be the part of the family. I ask Committee of the Region to support Ukraine application for membership. It's our dream, it's our goal. I propose to involve leaders of Ukrainian municipalities in cooperation to include representative of local self-government of Ukraine in the working group on Ukraine, task on Ukraine. We also very appreciate for, I hope and everyone understand, we defend not just the peace in our country, in our families. We defend the same values and principles what have European countries. And we defend also the principles what have everyone in the European Union. And one more time, we very appreciate for your support, and everyone, I hope, understand. Ukraine is one of the largest countries in the European continent, and stability, it's everyone wish stability, politically, economically stability in Ukraine, and instability, one of the largest countries in Europe, can bring instability in whole region. And that's why our goal to bring peace back to Ukraine. I want to remind, this war is the largest, the biggest war after the Second World War in the European continent. And that's why we have to do it everything what is possible to bring the dream for every Ukrainian, every from 40 million Ukrainians, to bring peace back to our homeland. I want to say also thank you very much for 50,000 children, school-age children from all regions of Ukraine who already take advantage in summer camps in European Union. It's for children. Our children is our future. It's very important for us. And I have a message for everyone. Please stay with Ukraine. The unity around Ukraine is a key for peace in whole Europe. One more, thank you very much for support. We're still fighting. We're still defending. Not just our children, not just our houses. We're fighting and defending the same values and principles what have every one member of European Union. One more, thank you very much for everyone. Big honor to be the part of European Committee of Region, and a lot of work to do it, but first of all, our dream we have to make truth. Peace back to Ukraine, and thank you very much for everyone who support our homeland.
Thank you very much, Mayor Klitschko. I would like now to give the floor to Mr. Vadim Boychenko, the mayor of Mariupol. Dear Mayor, your city has become the symbol of the fight for freedom. Talking about Mariupol, our thoughts go to Guernica, another martyr city of the last century. We see with horror foreign troops marching in the streets of your city. And we assure you that we will never recognize or accept the occupying forces. On the contrary, we will always give you the legitimate municipal administration of Mariupol the right to echo your voice. Dear Mayor, the floor is yours.
Доброго дня, вітаю, шановна європейська спільнота. Я звертаюся сьогодні до вас як мер українського міста. Міста, яке зараз потерпає від ворожої російської навали. Наші вулиці, які ще донедавна були заповнені дитячим сміхом,
children's smiles and laughter. Unfortunately, they are bleeding. The houses that 2 months ago were full with family warmth, today they became the burial places for thousands of Mariupol citizens. Instead of light in our windows, we have darkness. Instead of warmth, we have cold and quiet. Instead of life, we have death. Russian occupants have ruined more than 90% of our city infrastructure, schools, kindergartens, hospitals, parks, and even a church was ruined. Now, the enemy is targeting everything of our peaceful life. It was turned into a military object, as it is said nowadays by the occupants. Every citizen of Mariupol became an enemy, from small Tatiana, who died from lack of water under the rubble of her house, until an elderly woman who died in the hospital #1 when it was shelled by the enemy. More than 20,000 of peaceful citizens of our city became victims of this atrocious war. It is twice as much as those 2 years when Mariupol was occupied by fascists during the Second World War. Just think about it. 20,000 lives which were taken by Russian occupants. 20,000 stories that will never be continued. A child that would never go to school, a young boy that did not manage to confess his love to his bride, a mother who would never sing a song to her child, death, pain, and suffering. This is what is brought to us by Russia in our house. This is the way the war is in present Mariupol. Today, this is the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine is not something far-fetched or in the surrealistic world. No, this is the war that goes in the heart of Europe. It's close by to every one of you, and you have to understand that Ukraine has taken the first blow. Our country became a shield for millions of Europeans. Our families became the shield for European families. The fight of Ukraine against Russia is the fight of ideologies and values. It's the fight of life against death. It's the fight against fascism of the 21st century for democratic future of many generations to come. Today we see and feel the support of European countries. It is important to understand that the price of this support, the consequence of this support are many lives saved, not only in Mariupol but throughout Ukraine. Many saved lives, thousands of saved lives. I am so grateful to everybody who supports us today in our fight for our joint future of us and European countries. The victory of Ukraine, which will be assured, and it will not be, unfortunately, the end of the history of resistance. The next stage is the rebuilding of Ukrainian cities, which are ruined to the ashes by Russian missiles. Life will win over death. Ukraine will win, and we will start a huge process of rebuilding. And I'm sure now and after our victory, the support of European countries will be key to us. We are pleading to us. We are addressing the whole European community to unite in the name of peace and development, in the name of rebuilding Ukraine, and in my case, for the sake of Mariupol. What do I suggest? We need very important expert help of European experts who can participate in rebuilding of Ukrainian cities. In my view, there should be a team of experts that, together with our specialists, will start to rebuild from ashes of our infrastructure, considering all the principles of modern European urbanism. So with common efforts, we should build the new strategy of rebuilding Mariupol, the document which will be full of real projects. And we really appeal to you to use financial instruments to help us. We have to create a fund of rebuilding of our heroic city of Mariupol that will be comprised by experts from both Ukraine and Europe, and that will be the place where all the efforts will be joined for the future of our city. I am addressing European cities. Let's join our efforts to rebuild Mariupol and other cities of Ukraine. In every ruined city and village, there could be a twin city or village found in Europe, which will help to rebuild, which will help to bring our cities to back to the peaceful life. Today there is an understanding and there is a real support from Gdansk that we feel. This is our twin city. And it is ready to start rebuilding Mariupol together with us. We are so grateful to our friends and partners, especially to the mayor, Alexander Yurkevich. Russia today has consolidated the whole world community against Russia, against death. And Ukraine is consolidating the world for the development, for the future, in which there is no place for imperialistic, archaic views. We have to unite for the sake of lives, for the sake of peace. Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine, glory to our heroes, the defenders of Mariupol, glory to our country. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to give the floor now to Mr. Andriy Sadovi, the Mayor of Lviv. Dear Mayor, your city is providing shelter to more than 50,000 displaced people coming from all over your country, from all over Ukraine. You have been called to manage a new city within your city. During our last meeting, you echoed the need for a new Marshall Plan to be at the disposal of Ukraine and its mayors as soon as possible. So we are here to listen to this call. The floor is yours, Mayor.
Добрий день, шановні пані та панове. Для мене велика честь мати можливість сьогодні виступити перед вами. І на початок я хочу подякувати всім вам за розуміння, за допомогу і за солідарність. Ми всі розуміємо, що це є особлива війна, що сьогодні українці воюють за вільний світ, воюють за демократію, воюють за право бути вільним народом і жити в вільному світі. Президент Зеленський неодноразово виступав і наголошував, яка допомога потрібна Україні. Це і мілітарна допомога, це і гуманітарна допомога. Як ви знаєте, сьогодні близько 6,5 мільйонів українців покинули свої міста, покинули свої помешкання, і вони сьогодні волають про допомогу. Сьогодні Львів прийняв 200 тисяч переселенців. Це є жінки, це є діти, це є старші особи, які, ховаючись від бомбардувань, від ракетних обстрілів, знайшли прихисток в нас у Львові. Ми перебудували 500 наших комунальних установ, це є школи, це є театри, це є спортивні зали. Ми починаємо вибудовувати тимчасове житло. Ми розуміємо, що ця війна ще буде тривати, і ми повинні перемогти в цій війні. Тому ваша підтримка довготривала є для нас принципово важливою. Для нас є важлива економічна підтримка, щоб Україна не просила кошти, щоб ми вже сьогодні починали вибудовувати економіку, щоб ті підприємства, які можуть працювати, now, so the enterprises which can work will work today. At the moment, we have seen quite a number of enterprises being moved away from the Kharkiv region, from the Luhansk region, and we are giving them assistance as much as we can. So we really need the support in the shape of relevant programs from the European Union to support the Ukrainian business so that our economy could survive. The whole world is supporting the Ukrainian army and is inspired by their bravery, but also the Ukrainian communities and Ukrainian mayors show their courage as well. As you know, 196 communities at the moment are under occupation in Ukraine, and they're blocked. And over 8 mayors are now captured and are the prisoners, and of course they are tortured as well. Today, Kherson has seen a significant meeting, and the Russian occupational soldiers indeed tried to disperse, and people are not afraid of that. They the people are coming to meetings with the flag. So if we are saying that we are supporting Ukraine, we have to block everything to do with Russia, the international cultural initiatives, because this is the ideological war. This is the war of tyranny against democracy. It's very important for us to understand that when we think about the future, we have to understand the role of communities and Hromadas. Why are we doing that? Why are we winning now? We are working indeed and fighting because indeed the sergeants are making the decisions, and we can compare it with our Hromadas, with indeed our local authorities, where the decentralized small Hromadas are indeed making their own decisions. We are talking about 1,475 Hromadas in Ukraine which are seeking new partners in Europe. And that is my plea for you, my request for you. Let's have a new push, a new wave. We can look at the model of cooperation with the Swedish cities, and perhaps each of our Hromadas, our towns, could have 5-10 partners in Europe, so that we could think how together how we could help the Ukrainian small cities and towns. It's a massive task, but we will manage. We will fight. We will fight for every meter of our land, so that we could manage to win, so that never again Russian aggressor would create problems not just for Ukrainians, not for other European cities. That is our mission. We don't know what to expect, what is waiting for us in the future, but we have got faith. We have got faith that we will win. Never give up. And that will be not just our victory, it will be a victory of the democratic world, of all of us. Only together, only united, never give up. Only victory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I would like to give the floor now to Mr. Ivan Fedorov, the Mayor of Melitopol. Dear Mayor, you and some of your colleagues were kidnapped by the Russian army. From the very first moment, we all called for your immediate release. And together, we have to keep the attention of the international community on the fate of your fellow colleagues. And you represent a real defender of the values and in the principles that we believe in. You represent, and you are, a real defender of democracy and of Europe. We pay great respect to you and all of your colleagues. The floor is yours, Mayor. Mayor Fedorov, you have the floor.
Dear President, dear colleagues, thank you for invite. Thank you that possible to speak today with you. And of course, greatest thank you to help in my release. I'm a mayor of a not very big city that's situated in the southeast of Ukraine. The population, more than 300,000 of citizens in our region. And 24th of February to our city, as to all our country, comes the second wave of war with Russian Federation. Why I tell the second wave? Because war started in 2014. In 24th of February, Russians start to make a rocket shoots to our city near our civilian houses. 200 meters from civilian houses when all city was slept. Next 2 days, it was fully war in our central square, central streets, was destroyed all heating system, water system, electricity system, and my team, as myself, make decision to stay in Melitopol because our citizens just wait support from us, and we can't leave Melitopol in such difficult situation. Next 2 weeks of occupation of Melitopol very hard for us, and Russian army every day start to be more angry and more angry because Putin and Russian leaders tell all over the world then when they will come to south and east of Ukraine, the citizens of our cities will say welcome for them. But nobody say welcome for Russian army. Putin and Russian leaders said all over the world that legally elected representatives will give support for Russian army. But nobody gives support from our colleagues. And of course, last point of their aggression before my kidnapping, it was our civilian protests. I want to pay attention on it. When city was totally occupied, when Russian soldiers was inside and outside our city, when many soldiers was around our honor, civilian citizens, go to civilian protests on central square and streets. It is not 1 or 10 citizens. It many thousands of citizens go to our occupied cities and say, we don't want to see you on our cities. Go away from our cities. Russian soldiers shoot to civilian citizens, and 2 civilian citizens on Melitopol was wounded. That's why they make decision to kidnap me. Why me? Because Melitopol, as a Mariupol, as a many cities, it's a good example of reform of decentralization. We have many projects, many contracts with European institutions. For example, European Investment Bank, European Bank Reconstruction and Development, and we invite many greatest projects together. That's why they make decision to kidnap me. They kidnapped me on Friday on 3 p.m. from the Center of Humanitarian Aid that we born at second day of war. In the center, our citizens can take clothes, medicines, pharmacy, temporary houses whose houses was destroyed. Russian soldiers come to this center and say to me, we arrest you because you had financial agreement with Ukrainian Radical Party. I said them, it is not true. But they bring me back on my head, tied my hands, and deliver me to prison. And it was very dangerous 6 days of my life. Of course, every minute I can't understand what I can wait. Also, we understand that for Russian soldiers, for Russian occupied soldiers, people's life, citizens' life, cost zero. One morning I woke up because in next camera they make tortures with civilian citizens that they kidnapped at night. But what's important thing, one important thing, when I was in a prison, I asked them, why you come to our city? Why you come to our country? What do you want from us? And you know, I had very strong answer. First of all, they said me that they want to save Russian language. But it is a very stupid reason, because in the south and east of Ukraine, 95% of Ukrainian citizens speak on Russian, and we have no such problem. Second reason, they said that they want to make us free from Nazism. I asked them, I'm 33 years old, and I can't find anyone Nazist in Ukraine. Who is it? But they answered that you don't know, but many Nazists. But now I know who is Nazist in Ukraine, how it think Russian soldiers. Nazist, it's all Ukrainian patriots, all of us, who love our country, who love our cities, who love our streets. But patriots, it's good. Nazism, it's not good, but we have no Nazism in Ukraine. And third reason, they said that we, as legally elected representatives, beat our veterans of the day of victory, 9th of May. It's very stupid too, because I asked them, please show me the video, and they can't do it. But now, situation more better, because when Putin understood that we don't want to give him support, he can't take support from our legally elected representatives, our civilian citizens. Now he starts to make genocide. And now we can't deliver humanitarian aid to our cities. Now we can't deliver a pharmacy to our cities. Now we can't evacuate civilian citizens who want to leave occupied cities. But most important thing, he started to fully destroy our cities. For example, city of my colleague, Vadim Boychenko, Mariupol, and many other cities. But in Ukraine, all of us know the reason why Putin came to Ukraine. Because in 2014, our country and all our cities make a choice of European future. Not Soviet Union, but European future, European development. That's why now Putin comes with war to Ukraine. And of course, I want to ask you support. Now more than 50 our colleagues kidnapped. Mayors, vice mayors, deputies of local councils. And of course, I want to ask you to be a leader, to make a huge PR company of it, because it's very important for those our colleagues who now on a prison. And of course, I want to ask you assist us to rebuild our cities. Now more than 1,000 cities was liberated from Russian soldiers in Kievsky, Chernigovsky, Sumsky, Zhytomyrsky region. And now many our citizens on your cities, but all of them want to come back to our Ukrainian cities. But we must prepare these cities to comfort life of our citizens. Of course, I want to say thank you for your support. Thank you for your trust to Ukraine, and thank you that you united with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to give the floor now to Ms. Tetiana Yehorova, the chair of the...
Thank you very much.
Шановний пане голово, шановні колеги, для мене дуже велика честь сьогодні бути з вами в цій сесійній залі. Для нас дуже важлива підтримка Європейського комітету регіонів. Сьогодні в нас дійсно президент Володимир Зеленський проводить конгрес регіональний в Україні, в якому я також буду приймати участь. І ті резолюції, які ви сьогодні приймете в підтримку України, для нас будуть конче важливі. Хочу сказати з приводу наших мерів, яких сьогодні ми заслухали, щоб ви розуміли, наші люди, наша країна пишаються нашими мерами, пишаються нашим президентом України Володимиром Зеленським. Жодний не полишив свій пост. Кожен робить все можливе для того, щоб наші люди могли жити в тих містах, які на сьогодні ще не окуповані. Путін вважав, що Україну можна розділити на захід, на схід, або відкусити шматок території, але він помилився. Україну він тільки об'єднав. Український народ, як ніколи сьогодні, об'єднаний і як ніколи вірить в свою перемогу. Перемогу над російською агресією. І ця перемога буде не тільки України, це буде перемога всього світу. Навколо України він об'єднав весь світ, вважаючи, що це неможливо. Але так вийшло. І це завдяки вам, шановні наші колеги, партнери, завдяки тому, що ви підтримуєте наших громадян, нашого президента, наших мерів, наших голів обласних рад, приймаєте наших людей. І ми, звісно, знаємо, що це також для вас велике навантаження, навантаження на місцеву владу. Але повірте нам, як тільки Збройні сили України переможуть ворога, наші громадяни всі повернуться додому. Про це свідчить те, коли люди після того, як Збройні сили України звільнили Ірпінь, Бучу і Гостомель, де відбувався просто геноцид українського народу, люди масово почали повертатися додому. Сьогодні для нас дуже історична, важлива історія, яку ми пишемо разом. І я впевнена, що життя має перемогти. Біле має перемогти чорне. І добро має перемогти зло. І ми разом тільки з вами можемо цього досягти. Наші Збройні сили України, наш президент стійко стоять і боронять нашу державу, наших жінок, наших дітей. І наші жінки також вступають в Збройні сили України для того, щоб довести, що всі готові встати і боротися за нашу незалежність. Люди обрали давно курс. Громадяни України давно обрали курс європейський. Діти, починаючи з маличку, дорослі люди, всі хочуть одного – європейську, розвинуту країну, а не того, що нам нав'язують. Вибачте, освободітелі. Я всім дякую за підтримку і думаю, що сьогоднішня сесія і рішення підтримки України буде правильним і важливим для нас. Дякую.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. I would like now to ask our staff to play us the videos on the testimonials that we had on the ground, the productions of the Committee of Regions.
Меня при взрыве отбросило из зала в спальню, коляска не перевернулась, вылетели все стекла, посеклась мебель, но я и птичка моя остались живы.
Я не думала, что я в свои 18 лет окажусь в такой ситуации, и я надеюсь, что это закончится поскорее, и я вернусь к себе домой, главное, чтобы было куда возвращаться. Поки що в Дрогобичі спокійно, але коли лунає тривога, то вже серце не на місці, тому що знаєш, що твою країну просто знищують. Я надіюсь, що мій дом залишиться цілим.
We went to Poland to bring some sleeping bags, some sleeping mattresses, and some backpacks for refugees.
We have a van that we can fit 6 people in, and we're prioritizing people who have kids with disabilities.
We try to give them the necessary medical help as much as we can in a primary level, and if we have something that is very serious, we have to immediately send them to the hospital.
Uchodźcy najbardziej potrzebują osoby, która podejdzie do nich i powie im, że już są bezpieczni, że wszystko będzie dobrze, że dostaną wszystkiego, czego potrzebują, że ktoś im pomoże dalej i że nie są w tym wszystkim sami. I to jest bardzo mocna pomoc, naprawdę wy stali nam jak braty.
Welcome to our shelter for refugees. Today things have changed. Europe has learned from its mistakes. My dear colleagues, your help has been significant. Help is coming from all over Europe. From most of the 240 regions and the 90,000 municipalities of Europe today, help is coming here, in Ukraine, in border regions like the ones in Poland. And this is European solidarity.
Thank you. We will now move to the second part of our debate. I would kindly ask Commissioner Ferreira to join us here on the podium. Dear Commissioner, dear Elisa, welcome back to the European Committee of the Regions. And first of all, I want to thank you for your relentless work and for being with us in this important debate. We have listened to mayors, governors, civil servants, volunteers from Poland, Romania, Hungary, and Slovakia during our visit 2 weeks ago in the border areas in the Polish region of Podkarpacie, and we heard them talk to us about the need for available EU funding that would have limited impact on their capacity to provide shelter, schooling, medical care, education, social and psychological support, unless there is drastic simplification measures to make it easier and faster to access these funds. Second, since regional and local authorities would be eligible for funding under 5 different EU programs, the use of EU funds is far too complex and bureaucratic. It is absurd to expect fund managers to cope with 5 different regulations and liaise with 5 different European Commission's offices alongside with national governments, departments to receive funding in time. They need more a single access point and increased technical assistance. This is why we are proposing the establishment of an EU-Ukraine refugees local facility, not as a new fund, but instead as an operational instrument that would offer, for example, the following features. First, mobilize funds from all relevant EU programs under one single set of simplified rules. Second, rely on an ad hoc Ukraine crisis task force of relevant European Commission services, offering basically a one-stop shop to potential regional and local leaders and authorities. And, of course, to grant direct and timely access to these funds to the eligible regional and local authorities. The European Committee of the Regions is ready to facilitate this process through its COR Ukraine Working Group, which has been supporting cooperation at regional and local level since 2014, as well as through its Help Ukraine Info Support Hub that we created. I have formally shared this proposal also with the EU Budget Commissioner Hahn, and given the urgency of the situation, we expect that the European Commission will provide us a clear answer as soon as possible, including the proposing of complementary or even alternative solutions. So, dear Elisa, I want again to thank you for your great collaboration with us and for being with us here for this very, very important debate. The floor is yours.
Dear President Tzitzikostas, dear Apostolos, dear Vice President Vaz Cordeiro, my dear friend, Mayor of Rome, Roberto Gualtieri, dear Chairwoman of the Kharkiv Council District, dear remaining members of the panel, honourable members, dear colleagues. Well, first of all, I want to thank you and the Committee of the Regions for this important debate and organising this absolutely historical testimony of what is happening. This is really a very special moment. In fact, I mean, no one can comment on the strength and the realism and the courage and the determination of our colleagues from Ukraine. I can only express our respect and our humble recognition of what they are doing. In fact, war has returned to Europe. This unprovoked aggression is not just an attack on Ukraine, and several of the speakers mentioned this. It is an attack on our European values of peace, of democracy, and the right of free peoples to choose their own future and their own path. What the Kremlin has underestimated was first and foremost the bravery of Ukrainians, but also the most cherished European value, which is solidarity. And from the very first day, Europeans have stood united in solidarity behind the people of Ukraine that also united. This solidarity has got to continue. We cannot waver in our unity or in our determination. Just a few short weeks ago, I was in Poland, in fact, together with President Tsitsikostas, and this film just showed it, and we saw the heartbreaking situation of refugees who crossed the border with nothing but the clothes on their backs, basically women, and here I pray show of respect to women, because they are the ones that I saw crossing the border with their children, with their mothers, with their elderly relatives, sometimes with their pets, and this was really moving. And in fact, they just managed to get what they could in their hands. I was impressed, and I'm still very impressed with the energy and efficiency of those helping the refugees. Among them, small NGOs, municipalities, cities, a lot of voluntaries. They are doing the work of heroes, but even heroes, in fact, need support. So once again, cohesion policy, and that's my area of responsibility, is called to play the role of first responder. Again, we have long-term policies, but we have been also working as firefighters. We did this with distinction during COVID, mobilizing medical assistance, support to businesses, employees, to the tune of some 23 billion euros. And now we are mobilizing support for refugees and for those supporting them. CARE, we called it CARE, as the previous instrument was CRE, but CARE stands for Cohesion's Action for Refugees in Europe, was the first proposed on the 8th of March, with additional elements added over the following weeks to keep pace with events on the ground. The package was adopted with the support that I keep thanking from the European Parliament, from the Council, and with the positive engagement of the Committee of the Regions and the Economic and Social Committee, but on the 9th and 14th of April, so Member States can already make use of all the elements that are included. Of course, I'm referring to CARE, and CARE adds to other instruments of support. Each of them is different from the other and covers a specific area, like the macro-financial assistance, the Asylum and Migration Fund, the Temporary Protection Directive, which is not a fund, it's the legal status of Europe for the first time having activated this directive to create conditions of legal certainty for the refugees that are treated in all member states as citizens of Europe for 1 year, and it can be postponed, or prolonged, prolonged, not postponed. And also the European Peace Facility that also for the first time was activated to support a specific problem in Europe. And we are not yet discussing rebuilding. That will be another area for the future. So going back to CARE, CARE gives Member States the flexibility to use remaining funds under the 2014-2020 cohesion programs, and we are talking about an execution rate on average at about 63% of the total funding that can be executed until 2023, as you know, as well as unprogrammed funding under REACT-EU. And REACT-EU, as you know, is 50 billion. So there is a part of REACT-EU that is still not programmed. You may ask, why the 2014-2020 programs and REACT-EU and not the 2021 programs? The answer is quite easy. In the interest of speed, because under the 2014-2020 programs and REACT-EU, funding is immediately available, it is there, and the structures to manage it are in place. So we can use this money to serve refugees and those receiving them without delay. In what concerns the 2021-27 partnership programs, as you know, they are still being negotiated, with the exception of Greece, that already in the summer had the agreement done. Of course, we have a set of programs in the final phase of negotiation, but the truth is that the money is not immediately operational. We are maximizing impact on the ground by taking 3 key measures to mobilize support quickly and effectively. First, all investments under this facility, this reprogramming, this emergency reprogramming, under CARE are retroactively eligible right back to the 24th of February, so the date of the Russian invasion. Second, we changed legislation and we have extended the possibility of 100% co-financing to the current accounting year until the 30th of June of this year. So until then, you can finance 100% of whatever costs you have to incur with the accommodation of the refugees. This will alleviate the burden on public budgets, of course. Thirdly, and to allow for immediate liquidity, pre-financing under REACT-EU has been increased, so the advance of money increased for all member states from the already high rate of pre-financing of 11% to 15%. But for the 9 frontline member states, those that have a direct border with Ukraine, or for those member states that have an inflow of Ukrainian people above 1% of their own population, these frontline member states and these overloaded countries with refugees, they can immediately receive 45% of the REACT-EU investments for 2021. So this is an anticipation. This unprecedented pre-financing should release around, according to our calculations, up to 3.5 billion euros for the euro, and this is just the pre-financing, in additional liquidity. In my visit to Poland, I stressed that this support must reach the ones that on the ground are acting. So this must reach the regions, the cities, the NGOs, the families who are bearing the burden of the work. We have also taken 3 key measures to simplify operations. First, either fund, the European Regional Fund or the Social Fund, can be used immediately for the greatest needs, regardless of the type of operations and without the need to have the bureaucracy to transfer funds from Regional Fund or Social Fund. So, in a nutshell, the European Regional Fund can immediately support operations of the type of the European Social Fund and vice versa. Second, and in this dimension, we are trying already to give an answer or a partial answer to the request of the Committee of the Regions as expressed by President Tsikostas. We have already set up a dedicated website which serves as a one-stop shop in which together Regio, Employment and Home Funds get together. And with this platform, we are trying, in fact, to create one-stop shop, answering questions from local authorities and providing guidance on the best possible approach to tackle this new challenge. As also you just mentioned, but you had mentioned it before during our meeting in the Polish-Ukrainian border. As always, also my services stand ready to assist you in any way you can, but we have already made this move. Third, we have proposed, because for certain of these potential beneficiaries, these local people, they cannot issue all the papers and bureaucracy and the invoices that usually we request for the funds. What we have created is a simple reimbursement on the basis of a unit cost, starting from the date of arrival of a refugee, of an Ukrainian person, be it a child or an adult or an elderly person in the Union. And this is so you just have to show that the person was there and for how long it was there. And you can ask for a reimbursement of 40 euros per week. So it depends on for how long. And this can be added up to the other instruments that I just mentioned. This will make it faster and easier to provide refugees with basic essential items, as well as to reimburse families and people that are really doing this work. In addition, through the neighbourhood instrument, we are currently supporting over 260 projects, so these cross-border projects involving Ukrainian beneficiaries, such as municipalities, rescue and border authorities, hospitals, social centres, small and medium companies and schools. So we have immediately suspended, after the invasion, the Interreg, all these Interreg investments in Russia and in Belarus. And we plan to do everything to channel further support to Ukraine through our 1,000 existing partnerships between regional and local authorities and Ukrainian border regions. So here again, this is something that is relevant, I think, for a lot of the regions of Europe and municipalities that are close to the border. Dear colleagues, this is what we are doing so far, but in the longer term it is clear that we must do more. Cohesion policy has been once again, I think, an adequate first responder, and we are constantly monitoring the situation to assess the best way to support the evolving needs of our regions and of our local authorities. This is yet another situation without precedent. After the COVID pandemic, we are facing an all-out war in the European continent. We are also seeing the largest ever refugee crisis. Close to 3 million people, I think more than that left their homes, but more than 3 million people are fleeing the war and entering the EU in the past 2 months. They are now among us and need to be temporarily or more permanently integrated. Cohesion policy will assist and is assisting these efforts. But we also know that the true strength of the policy lies in long-term transformation, of which the regional and local actors are champions. So, as we finalise the new cohesion programmes, let us factor in the war in Ukraine. Let us set up the long-term structures to welcome refugees, and let us take this as a timely reminder of a broader point, that in a changing world, we must look out for the regions of Europe. Changes and crises have a territorial impact. From rising energy and food prices to a green and digital transition, which we must now accelerate, the future will bring challenges to our regions and to the Union's cohesion. As we must adapt, as our regions must adapt, and our programmes must also adapt, and this will be our work together in the coming months and in the coming years. I look forward to our discussion, and I would like to take this moment to thank President Tzitzikostas, because some presidencies are like a smooth ride on a calm sea. You come from a country with famous sailors, and so, in fact, the ship of your presidency has been forced to weather one storm after another, from COVID to Ukraine. We have worked together in crisis, and dear Apostolos, if you ever felt seasick, you never showed it. It must be in your DNA. But in fact, cooperation with you has always been smooth sailing, whatever the weather. Thank you for the excellent cooperation, especially on the Joint Action Plan, and for your unwavering commitment to European cohesion. We wish you all the best in the future, and hopefully some smoother times. So thank you very much indeed to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner, our good friend Elisa, for your fantastic work and your help so far. It is true that even though it was really difficult times during these 2.5 years, if we didn't have allies like yourself, I don't think that we would have managed to overcome all these difficulties and this crisis. So thank you for everything. Now, let me give the floor to another very good friend of ours, one of the best mayors of the city capitals of the European Union, if you ask me, the mayor of Rome, Mr. Gualtieri. Dear Mayor, it's a great honor to have you here with us today in our plenary session. We met in Rome back in December discussing about city diplomacy. And of course today we are highlighting once again the role of cities and regions in complementing traditional diplomacy. Your country, like mine, has a long experience in providing shelter to refugees and migrants, as we have been and as we still are on Europe's front line. And once again, we need to make clear that migration is not an issue that the bordering member states and cities should be facing alone. It is a European issue to be tackled united by sharing the burden, as this it is the only way to efficiently manage it. And if we go back to the previous migration crisis, I have to admit, and we have to admit, that we felt very lonely. Europe was not there by the side of the cities, the regions, and the countries in the borderline. But today things have changed. Europe is learning from its mistakes. And this is the strength of the European Union. And this is exactly what European solidarity is about. So it's a great honor and pleasure to welcome you here, Mayor Gualtieri. And I really think that collaborating together has brought very important results for Rome, but also for the European Committee of the Regions. So welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Apostolos. Thank you, Mr. President, dear friend Elisa, dear colleagues and friends, dear chairwoman of the Kharkiv region and the other mayor that has touched our hearts with your words. Let me thank you for having organized this very important session on Ukraine, which is a concrete example of what you mentioned as, diplomacy and work that local authorities, cities, region can do, complementing what EU institution and member state are doing and giving a very added and extra value. First of all, of course, I would like to express the strongest condemnation of Russia's brutal, unacceptable military aggression against Ukraine, Rome and its citizens, as we all stand with Ukraine and its people. Our heart is full of grief in front of the unspeakable suffering the war is causing to the Ukrainian people, in front of the violence and destruction it is bringing to its cities, towns, villages, on a scale that we thought would never be seen again in this continent. Dear Vitaly, Andriy, Vadim, Ivan, Tatiana, we admire your strength and your courage in defending your country, as you said, you are defending also our values. In the face of this blatant violation of international law and universal and European principles, I think we can say that Europe has responded with the united front adopting unprecedented sanctions, providing military assistance and concrete solidarity towards Ukrainian people and towards those bordering regions who are having the heaviest burden, learning by the mistake of the past and showing concrete example of solidarity, as we learned to do also with COVID. And I would like in particular to commend the swift adoption of the Temporary Protection Directive and the quick and flexible mobilization of cohesion policy and of technical support instrument, complementing the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund. I think that Elisa has very well illustrated the care mechanism and its features, as well as the liquidity support provided under REACT-EU, and I congratulate her for this excellent job. What is even more important and positive, it is the very strong solidarity across European citizens. In particular, of course, bordering regions and local authorities are doing a tremendous job, which all us must recognize and support. But there is a feeling, a united feeling, in all cities across all Europe. I still remember the excellent initiative organized by my friend Dario Nardella with 170 cities, which 14th of March mobilized, expressing support to Ukraine. Also, the city of Rome, as well as all Italians and European cities, we are doing our part. Italy is home of a large Ukrainian community, and refugees are coming to Italy, and one of the main destinations, of course, is Rome, as well as other large cities. We are accommodating thousands in hotels, while in a moving display of generosity, hundreds of Roman families have registered in order to host Ukrainian refugees in their homes, and many Romans, as many Europeans, are donating in order to send aid to Ukraine. Beyond the immediate task of providing emergency assistance and accommodation, our goal, the goal of all Italian cities, is to mobilize our administrations and our resources in order to integrate refugees. Many of them are attending language courses, and children are already attending schools. And through the health service, we are giving special attention to vulnerable and fragile people and those who have been most affected by this tragedy. Our objective is always to mitigate wounds, physical and psychological, and integrate as much as possible for as long as needed. However, I think that in front of the magnitude of the tragedy we are facing, I think we must focus not only on what we are already doing, but what we can do more and what is more needed. And in this respect, I would like to make a couple of points. The first about cities, regions, and local authorities, and the second about more at the EU level. First, I fully support the proposal of a summer camp program for children to be organized jointly with the Association of Ukrainian Cities. It was referred to by Apostolos and also the mayor of Kiev. And of course, I'm pleased to confirm that Rome will join the program and we will do its part in it. We are also reflecting about how we could give a concrete contribution to the reconstruction, rebuilding of Ukraine. I think many mayors have mentioned, Ukrainian mayors mentioned this. I think it's a huge issue, and we have to start thinking about it. So we would like, as City of Rome, to adopt an Ukrainian school destroyed by Russian bombs and help to rebuild it. And I think it would be good if a great number of EU cities, regions, and other local authorities will do the same, adopting each one Ukrainian building in one city, one village, one town, one region, to reconstruct together with Ukrainian local authorities. And then I would like to make a final remark about what this war implies for the EU as a whole. I think that it is pretty clear that the economic consequences of this war will add up to a really significant existing investment gap for the energy transition that now is even more needed in terms also of energy autonomy, independence, to Green Deal, to infrastructure, the strategic autonomy of the EU, digital transition, climate targets, the need to absorb shocks like the one that is arriving as a consequence of this war, symmetric shocks but also can be asymmetric, and countries can have more or less fiscal space to absorb these shocks. Plus we have to contribute to the reconstruction of Ukraine. Someone mentioned the Marshall Plan. I agree with the concept. I think that if we count the already existing investment gap, and in addition, this additional effort is needed, it's very clear that what we are doing is fine, it's fundamental. We are redeploying as much as possible in the most intelligent way the existing resources, but that may not be sufficient. So, as we had the capacity to do when COVID arrived, and after initial, lack of capacity to react, Europe made an unprecedented step to coordinate fiscal, monetary policy, national, EU level, regulatory targeted interventions, finally common borrowing capacity with the Next Generation EU. I think that the sooner we realize that something similar will be needed to face this situation and avoid that the most fragile countries, cities, regions will not be able to move together to our common goals, the better would it be. So I think that what is the situation and what's going to, that I'm talking also with my previous head of finance minister, but I see this point, I think it's very important to have full awareness of this. So thank you very much for this session. Thank you very much for the exceptional work and cooperation that within the Committee of Region and with other networks, all cities, region are having. Congratulations to the work of your institution. And of course, first of all, I would like to express to our Ukrainian sisters and brothers, mayors and citizens, all our strong support and solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gualtieri, and thank you very much for accepting the proposal to host children, accompanied minors in Rome this summer, and also for your proposal, which I find very interesting, for every city or region to adopt an infrastructure, a school or something in Ukraine that was destroyed and finance it. I thank you very much for these ideas, and I thank you very much for being here with us, helping us and contributing to this very important debate. Thank you, Mayor. And allow me please now to give the floor to two other mayors who are located in the border regions of the European Union with Ukraine. And let me start with Alexandra Dulkievich, who is also the chair of the COR Ukrainian Working Group. So, Alexandra, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. President, dear Apostolos, Madam Commissioner, dear colleagues. especially those from Ukraine, sisters and brothers. We are here to say that we are with you, but we as representatives of local and regional authorities, we are people from really concrete work, concrete actions. Therefore, we really need to not only discuss today, but also decide, just like our colleague Mayor of Rome just gave special example of adoption, the concrete public building to be rebuilt. Of course, this is extremely important, but first of all, war should finish. And during our working group, which I have an honor to be a president since November last year, we adopted in the late of March the political statement, which was agreed by all political groups who are here in the Committee of Regions, and we presented several concrete actions that could be done. First of all, definitely political actions, not only those which are supporting Ukrainian path to be a full member of the European Union. This is extremely important, but also something what was already mentioned by the Andriy Sadov, our colleague from Lviv, who I also had the chance to visit with my colleague mayors in March this year, just to see what we can concretely do. For example, my city, but also quite a lot of cities from Poland send the buses because they need the buses, public transportation buses, right now, because many cities decided to give their own public transportation to those who need, for example, on the front line, to transport the soldiers or people escaping from the sites which are under the war. So Lviv, for example, is a city where the population grown almost is twice as big as it used to be before this war. So this is what they need. I deeply believe that also this idea of partnerships is extremely important. I know that here in this room we have plenty of representatives who don't have any single region, any single city, any single village that could be a partner. I think that this is something what we really can do. For example, my sister city is also Mariupol, sister city of Gdansk, and we are really trying to do as much as we can to help to them. I really would like to say thank you to Mayor Fedorov from Melitopol, who I think said really important thing that we need to not only discuss but also adopt in this room. We cannot believe anymore Russia. This is something what my colleagues, my predecessor, Mayor Pavel Adamovich, also as a member of this committee, but also as a member of Korlip, was also trying to say to plenty of us, also Marek Woźniak, head of our Polish group, that we cannot believe Russia, but we need to help the Russia to be changed. This is extremely important, that we cannot forget about this, what will happen after war, how we can support this eastern part of Europe to deeply believe in democracy and really change their own communities. For example, Melitopol, Mariupol, those were the cities, Ukrainian cities, which were really example of local democracy, of transparency, of the communities which were really fighting with the corruption, and therefore they were really open for European investments, and the European institutions and non-governmental organizations like ALDA were active there. So there are some ideas that are important after the war, but we also need to remember about this, what is important right now. Humanitarian aid sent directly to the communities, to the cities, to the regions, as they need our support. Support for my country, Poland, but also Romania, Slovakia, Hungary, but also Moldova, where we had plenty of refugees, and we really need to do as much as we can to integrate those people, but to remember about their human dignity and Ukrainian pride. Therefore, I would like to say thank you for the cooperation to many of you, dear colleagues, the members of the Committee of Regions, but I think that we cannot, first of all, forget about the Ukraine, although it's 62nd day of war, and they still need our support, but we definitely need to think about this, what will happen in the future, in an economical way. Of course, we are talking about so-called Marshall Plan, but also in the field of values, democracy, and rebuilding the country. So thank you very much, and I'm really open for the questions and the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. And I would like to give the floor now to the mayor of Setmis, Mr. Bakun. You have the floor.
Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Wojciech Bakun. I'm the mayor of a mid-sized city on the very east of Poland, which is very close to the Ukrainian border. We are only 10 kilometers from the border, so from the very beginning of this crisis, we were there. We were exactly there on the border. We were on the city, and from the first day, from the 24th of February, we give help and we support every refugee which come to Poland, which come to our country, and which need help. We have 5 twin cities in Ukraine. So from the very beginning, we start supporting them with everything what they ask for, what they need, because we have to think about 2 different processes. One of them is crisis. A lot of Ukrainians move out from the Ukraine and move to Poland and move to different countries in EU, but also many of refugees, many of Ukrainians move just from east side of Ukraine to the west side. So a lot of smaller city on the west side of Ukraine need help at this moment as well. And that's what we're doing now. If you could imagine about some numbers. In last 2 months, from 24th of February, in my city, which is about 60,000 of population, we support about 1 million refugees. We are the main hub for supporting people who coming to Poland. We have 2 cross-border. One of them is Medica, which is very close to the city, and another one is the train cross-border, which is in the city center, exactly in the train station. So in last 2 months, we support about 1 million refugees. And to be honest, you can be really sure every refugee come to our city was very well supported. We give them food, we provide everything like hygienic things, we provide clothes, trolleys, buggies, warm food, hot drinks, and we do everything for them. And we try give help exactly in our city, but also we support them to organize transportation to different cities in Poland and different cities in EU. That was main thing what we do. We not from the very beginning. We not keep money of refugees in our city, because the main function for city in Poland in the very first line was organized transportation and carry and help people only when they need immediately help. Because if you could imagine, we are only 60,000 of population, and in 5th of March we support about 50,000 of refugees which come only in 24 hours. So it's nearly double our city, and every refugee from this group was same supported as another nearly 1 million of refugees in last 2 months. But now it looks a bit calm. We can expect less of amount refugees coming to the Poland, but also we see that traffic to another way. I mean, many of refugees leave Poland now, and they decide back to Ukraine, and that's another question and another job for us, because we support them as well. So many cities in Poland and many cities, many regions and cities in EU are stable now with the refugees, so you can easily organize live and easily organize integration process in your city. But city on the border, city on the first line is still busy, because we still expect a huge traffic of refugees. But now that traffic is on the both ways. So about 5,000 people, 5,000 refugees come in to Poland, and about 5,000 come out from Poland every day. So what's in the future? Mrs. Dulkiewicz say very true words. So we have to think very quick about the future. Integration process is the main thing, because a lot of refugees want back. When we talk with them, they want back as soon as possible to Ukraine. But we have to think about a lot of them don't have houses, don't have flats. They don't have a place to back on Ukraine. So we have to think about carry this kind of refugees for longer period time. And now in Przemysl, in our city, we start doing small houses for them. Actually, not houses. It's a flat for about 150 families. And in the future, we think about integrate more than 5,000 refugees in our city. So, and to be honest, lot of refugees, when we ask them, they want to stay very close to the border. They want to stay as close as possible to their home cities. So cities like Przemysl and other cities on the east side of Poland is very comfortable for them for staying for longer period of time. And that's what we want to do in very near future. Also, it's not we can admit that we need some funds for that, but that's the future. I think the main thing is integration process for a longer period of time, and also thinking about rebuild process in future as soon as possible after that war was finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I would like now to move to the third part of our debate, and then afterwards our members will take the floor. In this third part, we have the debate with Commissioner Lenarčič, who I welcome here today in our plenary, the EU Commissioner on Crisis Management. Dear Commissioner, it was only in October that you joined our plenary to discuss how the EU has been working to support regions and cities after the devastating summer floods and fires. Since the beginning of this brutal Russian invasion to Ukraine, the EU has been working to support Ukraine and its people. And it is true that 2 weeks ago you committed a further 50 million euros of EU funds to humanitarian aid, which is very important, supporting people that have fled from war or are still stuck in the crossfire. So, Commissioner, we need to continue working together to ensure that the support reaches the people who are in need and that our efforts are coordinated and effective. So, I welcome you again, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear President, honorable members of the Committee of the Regions. I really am grateful for this invitation to join you at the plenary session once again. It's a pleasure to be here. And allow me to start by acknowledging and appreciating the support and the assistance and the dedication that you devote to Ukraine and its people since the beginning of the Russian aggression on Ukraine. Since then, the Committee of the Regions has shown tremendous solidarity with the Ukrainian people, both inside the country and throughout the neighboring region. Many of your members have mobilized resources, organized collection centers, and offered help to individuals who are in need. This unity is acutely necessary at a time when millions are still suffering in the face of continued Russian aggression against Ukraine. You heard today from some of the mayors from Ukrainian cities about the devastation that they and their citizens continue to suffer. The number of people who left Ukraine or left their homes in search of refuge and safety goes in millions, and many more are still trapped in besieged cities without access to food, to water, heating, or electricity. We all hear particularly devastating reports from the city of Mariupol. Yet I fear there are many other places, particularly in the east and the south of the country, that are similarly affected, if less visible. As you know, even wars have rules. However, in Ukraine, these rules are being openly trampled upon. The blatant and widespread violations of international humanitarian law by Russian forces in Ukraine are horrendous, and they are, of course, totally unacceptable. As I have been stressing since the start of this aggression, civilians must not be a target. Civilian infrastructure needs to be preserved, and humanitarian workers must be able to access those in need of life-saving assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, from the very outset, the European Commission stands firmly with the people of Ukraine, offering concrete support to those who need it. Through the largest ever EU civil protection mechanism operation, all 27 member states and 2 participating states, Norway and Turkey, have by now provided more than 23,000 tons of in-kind assistance to Ukraine. This includes shelter, food, medicines, medical equipment, mobile hospitals, ambulances, fuel, fire engines, firefighting equipment, and other things. The assistance is sent to Ukrainian State Emergency Support Service, which then dispatches this assistance to those in need, including in the regions. We have also channeled our support to Moldova and within the European Union to Poland, Slovakia and Czech Republic, which have also requested assistance through the Union Civil Protection Mechanism to help them cope with the refugees, care for the refugees. Today, we continue to provide such much needed support, both inside Ukraine and across the wider region. With support of our Emergency Response Coordination Center and in close cooperation with Poland, Romania and Slovakia, we have set up 3 civil protection logistic hubs. Their role is to collect and consolidate the assistance offered in the most efficient manner before it is being sent to Ukraine. Furthermore, we also help organize medical evacuation for those in need of urgent care. To date, the Civil Protection Mechanism has helped transfer over 200 Ukrainian children and adults, patients, including war-wounded, from Poland, Moldova and Slovakia to 11 other European Union member states. The Commission is also receiving donations from the private sector. Most recently, the CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear countermeasures from private donations were transported from Belgium to Ukraine. More donations are in the pipeline from all across Europe. I wish to recall that the European Union, together with its member states, is the biggest donor of humanitarian and early recovery and development assistance to Ukraine. To deal with the most pressing fallout from this military aggression, we are funding humanitarian assistance by now totaling 143 million euros. Of this amount, 130 million is intended for Ukraine and 13 to Moldova. This funding is part of a larger Commission's package of almost 1 billion euros for people fleeing the war, both inside Ukraine and abroad. As you know, we are funding, through our humanitarian funding, we are funding humanitarian organizations on the ground. This means UN agencies, the Red Cross family, and international non-governmental organizations who are working to support civilians affected by the conflict. Despite security and access constraints, of which you are familiar, and of which also the mayors from Ukraine spoke, our humanitarian partner organizations continue to scale up their operations and deliver aid, including in hard-to-reach areas. Once again, I need to reiterate that humanitarian access must be granted for all who need it. The so-called windows of silence are necessary to ensure safe passage and delivery of relief items to all in need and to evacuate civilians. Honourable members, local authorities in the European Union play an important role, a very important role in hosting Ukrainians in their towns and regions, but they can also play a significant role in delivering emergency aid to Ukraine, particularly in situations where access is difficult. Many of you have privileged contacts with your colleagues at local and regional level in Ukraine, and you can assess the needs and pass them on. And how to do that? You pass them on to the state-level organizations in your country with whom we are in touch with regard to the assistance that can be provided. And in this respect, I wish to praise the Committee of the Regions for launching its new online information hub, matching offers of assistance from individuals and organizations is indeed an effort that simplifies the provision of emergency assistance to local and regional authorities inside Ukraine as well as all around Europe where such assistance is needed. As always, the Commission values the efforts of the Committee of the Regions our trusted partner, but even more so during such an unprecedented crisis in Europe, unprecedented since many, many decades. Once again, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for excellent cooperation. Thank you, President, for your role in this. And now I'm looking forward to hearing your views and comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, Commissioner Lenarčič, dear friend Janez, and thank you for your fantastic collaboration with us all these years with the Committee of Regions. You have been of great help during difficult times. So, dear colleagues, that's how we are going to move on now. We have approximately 40 members, 40 of our colleagues who want to take the floor. So as you understand, this is a huge number, but this is a very interesting debate. So what I propose is that I've already asked Commissioner Šefčovič, who is following another debate later on, to move his debate from 4 to 4:30, so we have 1 hour of clear debate time. This means that in order to have the commissioners also and our mayors respond to the questions, I would suggest that we give the floor to all of you who have asked for the floor for 1 minute, so that you present your main idea or your basic question, in order to have time for the commissioners to answer by 4:30 to enter in our next debate. So, unfortunately, since I have a meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine for the phase of the reconstruction, it's a very important meeting with the Association of Mayors and Regions of Ukraine. I will have to step to the next room, so I would please ask the Vice President of our committee, my good friend Vasco Cordeiro, to chair this very important and interesting debate. Thank you.
This is the order. Yes. I would like, previous to giving the floor to the first member, I would like to, if possible, that we have time on the screen so people who are intervening, they can see how much time they have and time left. And now I will give the floor to our colleague Geblevich. You have the floor for 1 minute.
Dear commissioners, dear colleagues, I'm very honored to be able to participate in this important, I would say even the most important debate in the recent years in the Committee of Regions, and address you on behalf of the EPP groups. I'm deeply moved by the words of our fellow mayors and councillors from Ukraine. We respect your courage, actions you have taken to protect your citizens. We respect your dreams of peace, democracy and development in the free world. That's why the EPP supports the resolution of COR, which we will adopt today, as well as all gestures of solidarity with Ukraine, both here in Brussels and in our villages and cities. Ukraine cannot be left alone, abandoned, forgotten. EPP supports and calls for further links between EU cities and regions and Ukrainian cities and regions. Any help is needed. We have to mobilize our communities and residents for further humanitarian aid, because this aggression, this war destroys not only military facilities but also Ukrainian economy, civil infrastructure, hospital and schools. In my region, West Pomeranian region in Poland, we have been sending ambulances, medicines, food, power generators, etc. to our Ukrainian friends, as from the very first of this cruel war, we have to continue our aid. We have to do it in every village, in every city in Europe. And finally, we call for intensifying help from the European Union, both directly to the Ukraine and to all local and regional authorities.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Wozniak, 1 minute. Wozniak, 1 minute.
Panie Przewodniczący, skoro mam 1 minutę, to powiem tylko o zagrożeniach, które widzę z perspektywy swojej kilkunastoletniej aktywności w zakresie współpracy z państwami Partnerstwa Wschodniego. Po pierwsze, kształt pokoju, jaki nastąpi między Ukrainą a Federacją Rosyjską, jest kluczowy. Rosja uwielbia zamrożone konflikty. Jeśli pokój będzie zamrożonym konfliktem, to nasze marzenia o odbudowie i o normalności będą narażone na niepowodzenie. Po druga rzecz, obawiam się, że zawiedziemy Ukrainę, ponieważ jak Państwo słyszeliście od burmistrzów, Ukraina oczekuje pełnego członkostwa w Unii Europejskiej i walczy o to pełne członkostwo dzisiaj na froncie. To jest walka o wartości. To jest walka dwóch cywilizacji. Cywilizacji, która nie szanuje ludzi i tej, która kocha człowieka, czyli naszej. I trzeci element, obawiam się niezadowolenia naszych mieszkańców, jeśli wydamy nasze pieniądze przeznaczone na rozwój na kryzys uchodźczy. Tych pieniędzy musi być więcej.
Thank you. Rouillon, 1 minute.
J'avais prévu 4, alors je vais aller vite. 3 remarques et demandes. Premièrement, la Commission européenne et vous-même, Mme Ferreira, avez mis en œuvre un budget dénommé CARE, soins, traitements, doté de 17 milliards d'euros. Ce fonds devrait être mobilisé pour envoyer 15 000 jeunes Ukrainiens déscolarisés dans des villes et villages de l'Union européenne. Deuxièmement, une mise au point est importante. Les fonds mis à disposition obéissent tous à des règles différentes, rendant la tâche des régions, des villes, très difficile. En ce sens, je soutiens la proposition du président Titi Kostas qui demande la création d'un fonds d'impôt commun de l'Union européenne réunissant tous les fonds disponibles. Enfin, sans doute le plus important, la mobilisation dans l'urgence des fonds de la politique de cohésion a été une bonne chose, mais d'une certaine façon, il s'agit d'un détournement de procédure. Nous ne pouvons pas dépouiller la politique de cohésion et priver les collectivités territoriales d'investissements de long terme visant à réduire les inégalités de richesse et à stimuler une croissance respectueuse de l'environnement. Nous demandons que l'Union européenne abonde un fonds spécifique permettant de faire face dans la durée à l'accueil.
Thank you. De Coster, 1 minute.
The sound has been cut.
Pour que la paix puisse vraiment courir ses chances, il faut d'abord qu'il y ait l'Europe. C'est ce que Schuman disait le 9 mai 50, et c'est ce que nous disons aujourd'hui. Il faut qu'il y ait une Europe aux côtés de l'Ukraine dans son combat pour sa liberté, pour sa souveraineté. Nous sommes favorables à un régime strict de sanctions aux côtés de l'Ukraine pour reconstruire au moment où ce temps viendra, aux côtés de l'Ukraine pour l'accueillir dans la famille, dans sa famille, l'Union européenne. Il faut aussi qu'il y ait une Europe aux côtés des Ukrainiens qui ont fui leur foyer, leur pays, et nous sommes villes, villages, régions d'Europe en première ligne pour pouvoir les intégrer et leur souhaiter le meilleur accueil possible. Merci à la Commission européenne de nous aider à le faire par la mobilisation des outils de la politique régionale. Merci également à l'autorité bancaire européenne qui ce matin a souhaité pouvoir favoriser l'intégration par la disposition qui permettra aux Ukrainiens d'avoir un compte bancaire. Nous souhaitons aussi que soient reconnues les qualifications et les diplômes ukrainiens pour favoriser leur vie professionnelle. Merci.
Ortil, 1 minute.
Dziękuję bardzo, panie przewodniczący, pani komisarz, szanowni koledzy z Ukrainy. Doceniam oczywiście dotychczasowe wysiłki Komisji Europejskiej w zakresie pomocy w celu ułatwienia procedur związanych z funduszem REACT-EU. Było to naprawdę bardzo potrzebne, ale chcę zaznaczyć, że ta pomoc nie wystarczy. Wykorzystaliśmy już jako samorządy niemal wszystkie środki z poprzedniej perspektywy finansowej. No i chcę powiedzieć, że to wymaga dalszych środków, które by były z nowej. Jaka jest rzeczywistość gospodarcza? Proszę Państwa, przede wszystkim rezerwacje turystyczne na Podkarpaciu są odwołane. wydarzenia gospodarcze, promocyjne rzeczy. To tylko nieliczne przykłady, które chcę powiedzieć. Przedsiębiorcy rezygnują nielicznie na szczęście z innowacyjnych inwestycji. Myślę, że trzeba koniecznie wesprzeć nas i wszystkie inne kraje europejskie, które przyjęły.
Thank you. Markauskas, 1 minute.
Ačiū prezidente. Lietuva ir Ukraina siekia seniai draugiški santykiai. Bet taip pat noriu pasakyti, kad Lietuva turi daugiau negu 300 km sienos su Rusija ir Baltarusija. Ir mes senai pažįstam poną Putiną ir poną Lukašenką ir mes senai perspėjom Europą apie galimą Rusijos ir Baltarusijos agresiją į Ukrainą, o taip pat jautėme didžiulę grėsmę Baltijos šalims. Ir mes padedam ir padėsim Ukrainai. Tačiau Europa taip pat turi išmokti pamoką, kad tos Europos šalis, kurios mato, pažįsta, yra arčiausiai galimo konflikto, kad reikia kreipti dėmesį į tą informaciją ir reikia reaguoti laiku. Ačiū labai.
Thank you, Mr. Voss. You have
Vielen Dank, Herr Präsident. Wir stehen fest an der Seite der Ukraine, an der Seite von Freiheit, Selbstbestimmung, Demokratie. Und ich muss wirklich meine tiefe Bewunderung Ausdruck geben, wie die Bürgermeisterinnen und Bürgermeister aus der Ukraine trotz der Tragödie bereits nach vorne geschaut haben, in die Zukunft geschaut haben. Und wir alle werden das mit dem Marshallplan stark unterstützen müssen. Wir haben viel über die Flüchtlinge, über die Arbeit der Zivilgesellschaft, über die Arbeit der Verwaltung gesprochen. Und letztlich wird an dieser Stelle deutlich, Europa muss zusammenstehen. Das hat diesmal sehr, sehr deutlich gemacht. Aber die Arbeit wird letztlich in den Regionen und vor Ort in den Kommunen erledigt. Bei dem allen Unfassbaren, was geschehen ist, müssen wir zugleich auch ganz genau hinsehen, gerade als Westeuropäer, auch als Deutsche, wie weit wir weggeschaut haben in den letzten Jahren bei dieser Entwicklung. Und wir müssen es einfach lernen.
Thank you. Zdanowska, 1 minute.
Dziękuję bardzo. Podobnie jak koledzy chciałam się skupić na jednej podstawowej rzeczy. To, co już było, zadziało się. Potrzebujemy wyprzedzających i sformalizowanych. Niestety w obecnej dobie możemy tylko marzyć o tym, że większość naszych gości, która w tej chwili nas odwiedziła, uchodźców z Ukrainy, będzie bardzo szybko wracała do swoich domów. Tak się na pewno nie stanie, bo i badania wszelkiego typu, które są w tym zakresie prowadzone, ale również też sytuacja na Ukrainie, gdzie te osoby potraciły swoje majątki, swoje domy, swoje mieszkania, nie rodzi żadnych wątpliwości, że te osoby zostaną z nami na dłużej. Dlatego potrzebujemy koniecznie dedykowanych działań, przede wszystkim również i środków w zakresie opieki nad dziećmi, w zakresie opieki nad osobami starszymi, ale potrzebujemy tych działań tu i teraz. Potrzebujemy uproszczenia procedur w zakresie prawa zamówień publicznych. Potrzebujemy też określenia jasno, że środki, które będą płynęły z Unii Europejskiej, będą w 100% pokrywały te koszty. Inaczej nie damy sobie zwyczajnie rady. Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you. Struk, 1 minute.
Dziękuję bardzo. Z wielką przychylnością witam projekt rezolucji wsparcie regionów i miast Unii Europejskiej dla Ukrainy. Ale chciałbym poruszyć 2 zagadnienia. Po pierwsze, należy wskazać, że pakiet CARE i CARE Plus, który umożliwia odpowiednie przekierowanie środków w ramach obecnej perspektywy finansowej, powinien zostać uzupełniony o rozwiązania analogiczne jak dla środków REACT-EU skierowanych na niwelowanie skutków pandemii COVID-19. Konieczne jest dalsze zwiększenie elastyczności wsparcia, tak abyśmy mogli jak najlepiej odpowiedzieć na potrzeby gości z Ukrainy. Wskazane jest jednocześnie wprowadzenie 100% dofinansowania ze środków Unii Europejskiej, co pozwoli w pełnym wymiarze uczestniczyć w działaniach pomocowych organizacjom pozarządowych. Po drugie, już dziś należy podjąć decyzję o przekierowaniu środków zaplanowanych w ramach perspektywy 21-27 w instrumencie sąsiedztwa oraz współpracy międzynarodowej na programy z udziałem Rosji i Białorusi. Warto rozważyć opcję polegającą na przesunięciu tych środków do programów
Thank you. Kaci, 1 minute.
L'Europa a febbraio si è svegliata nel mondo com'è e non come pensava che fosse. 30 anni fa scambiammo la fine della pace con la fine della guerra, la guerra fredda. Non facciamo più questi errori. Gli appelli dei sindaci e dei cittadini ucraini sono strazianti ed è nostro dovere ascoltarli e soprattutto non deluderli. Non deluderli. L'Europa giusta accoglie, aiuta, protegge, sanziona come sta facendo, ma ripeto, non sbaglia e non può più permettersi errori. Un appello al Comitato delle Regioni, signor Presidente: il 9 maggio l'Ucraina e l'Europa festeggino il giorno europeo, come è giusto che sia.
Thank you. One.
Unsere Solidarität im ADR gehört allen Menschen, die in ihren Staaten in Freiheit und Selbstbestimmung leben wollen. Zusammenhalt ist eine Kernaufgabe der Kohäsionspolitik. Deshalb begrüße ich, dass die europäische Ebene in diesen Krisenzeiten erneut Flexibilität zeigt und mit dem Care-Paket die Regionen finanziell entlastet, um den flüchtenden und schutzsuchenden Menschen aus der Ukraine schnell zu helfen. Durch das Care-Paket und seine Flexibilisierung, aber auch durch die erweiterten Vorfinanzierungsmöglichkeiten zeigen die Mitgliedstaaten nicht nur Solidarität gegenüber den Schutzsuchenden, sondern auch der Mitgliedstaaten untereinander. Vor Ort, die Menschen vor Ort müssen dabei helfen, die Leute zu integrieren und auch den Wiederaufbau in der Ukraine voranzutreiben. Ich bedanke mich bei Roberto Gualtieri für seinen Vorschlag und den Aufbaupartnerschaften. Ich würde das erweitern wollen, um zu Städtepartnerschaften zu kommen. Wir müssen ja auch Krankenhäuser, Kindergärten, Rathäuser, Wasserwerke und so weiter wieder aufbauen. Ich würde mich sehr darüber freuen, wenn die Kommission Wege finden würde, solche...
Thank you. Magyar, 1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Hungary, from a country with less than 10 million inhabitants. For the last 2 months, we have received as much as 620,000 refugees, mainly mothers and children, to cross the Ukrainian border. I'm proud to say that Hungarian citizens, private persons, governmental, regional authorities, the church and the civil society has shown big solidarity, providing humanitarian aid from the very first days with professionality, and all this comes from our heart. I ask for your attention too for the Ukrainian side of the border. A lot of Ukrainians flee from east to west, but they remain in Ukraine. They need accommodation, new facilities, catering, everything, and we do have them also. Please use the neighboring regions' direct connections to the Ukrainian regional authorities to have them. This is also the request of the politicians from the Ukrainian side.
Thank you. Mr. Nachka, Deputy Mayor of Paris, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. Je suis heureux de m'adresser ici au nom de la maire de Paris, Anne Hidalgo, et de rappeler l'engagement de Paris pour l'Ukraine, évidemment. Comme de nombreuses villes et maires en Europe, Paris a joué sa part, notamment dans l'accueil, évidemment, aux réfugiés, évidemment dans l'envoi d'aide humanitaire en Ukraine. Nous continuons, nous travaillons notamment au sein des nombreux réseaux de villes. Il y avait tout à l'heure le maire de Rome qui était là. J'ai pu me rendre à Rome il y a à peu près un mois et être avec lui, de même avec le maire de Florence, et nous continuerons le 7 mai prochain lors de la journée de l'Europe avec les différents maires européens en soutien à l'Ukraine. Merci beaucoup.
I'm the one who thank you. Thank you so much. Brockes.
Herr Präsident, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen! Auch Nordrhein-Westfalen, die größte Region Europas, steht fest an der Seite der Ukraine. Wir werden alles dafür tun, dass alle geflüchteten Menschen aus der Ukraine, gleich welcher Nation, die bestmögliche humanitäre Versorgung erhalten. Wer bei uns Schutz sucht, den heißen wir herzlich willkommen. Meine Damen und Herren, uns ist wichtig, dass die Hilfe ohne Umweg ankommt. Wir setzen uns daher für eine schnelle, unbürokratische Vergabe der Aufenthaltserlaubnis für die EU-weit abgestimmte Dauer ein. Ob Zugang zum Arbeitsmarkt oder zu Sprachkursen, die Kohäsionspolitik sollte hier gezielt im Sinne der Ziele der Kohäsionspolitik auch eingesetzt werden. Vielen Dank.